What is going on, everyone? Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 ETF edition while we wait. I'm sorry, stock edition while we wait for the biggest stock in the S&P 500, about 8% of it. NVDA reporting in just a couple minutes. We'll take a look. I'll try to remember at the end of the show. Let me see if they did anything yet. Not yet. But NVIDIA going into up 3%. We'll take a look in a second. Let's just go right to the doc here. Been a very interesting tape. Well, let me share off here and we'll go into what's going on here. Okay, boopity off. Hope everyone's been okay out there. There is some real chop, with what's going on. So today, Alphabet up to new all-time highs. Okay, there's Gemini 3. It's doing really having great advances here. They're hooking up with Apple, coming up. So a lot of things working out for Google right now. Really a star out of the Mag 7. We'll take a look at Block. Had a big rally, as did Broadcom. So some mega cap tech was up today ahead of NVIDIA earnings report out soon. And MicroStrategy, also known as Strategy, not too good, falling apart here. And Target also with a big down move. Look at all those rel charts. So first off, let us get into the dashboard panel and see the current moves going into this. You've seen, S&P. We'll take a look, but it's been on its back here, not really performing too well. Today, up 40 bips. NVIDIA up 3% going into the print. It has been down for, I think, a week straight. Google up 3% to those new all-time highs that we were just speaking about. Meta down 1.2%. Stock still getting hurt. AMD down 3%, continues to go lower. You want to buy into strength with a lot of these. So we'll look at the charts. It should be hopefully very informative as the momentum trade has fallen apart. Micron down 1.1%, and I think it's just been going up like a tree growing to the sky, almost changing my thought process on that. So Micron finally down 1%, Microsoft down 1.5%, looking like a double top in Microsoft. So not a great chart in that. Almost looks like industrials. Palantir down 1%. This thing's all the way down to 165. You remember north of 200 just a little bit ago. Broadcom, that's the big one, up 4% today, in addition to Google. Oracle, that name's been beat up recently. That's up 2% today. And that is enough of that. So really, let's start with the intraday tape. They were all gussied up here at 9:30. We peaked at 10 a.m. That took us to right about 667. And that was about it. After that, 10:30, they sunk it under VWAP. And we really couldn't have a comeuppance after that until 3 o'clock p.m. And then that's what finally helped. We started getting a little bit above VWAP for that positive 40 bip close. I see the futures, hang on, bouncing a little bit. Let me see if NVIDIA said something. Oh my, there's a God candle. And look at that. They are rocketing higher. So VWAP, by the way, so what essentially I look at the close, of course, and at VWAP, and it was basically 186 for NVIDIA going in here, 6% expected move. And right now, the call starts at 5 o'clock, but right now it is trading 195. And I believe the all-time highs are 212, just for reference. But as you can see that right there, NVIDIA right now, we'll take a look later, but it's up to 195. Hopefully that can help put a bottom in these very, very weak markets. It's been absolutely a sell the rip market at any point. Get to VWAP and then the sellers take control. It's been pretty pathetic. So really fast. So let me just get back to SPY. I think we talked about the intraday. That's that. Let me zoom out here. So again, we should be in bullish accumulation phase, but the markets look, whoops, let me move that box. But the markets look extremely, extremely weak. It has to show me some levels here. It's kind of guilty until innocent. I know it's got a beautiful rising 200 moving average, but this thing has really fell out of bed here, specifically in the past, week. This was a lower high here. We couldn't really get to those prior all-time highs. And then we had a lower low. So that doesn't give you warm fuzzies. That's vol expansion. That's not so great, that megaphone pattern. And of course, I think there's a lot of dealing with the market's acceptance with a less friendly Fed. We're likely not getting that 25 bips in December. Not that we needed it. Maybe they do 50 in January. It really doesn't change the scope of things. But also, if we're overspending on AI CapEx, let's see what NVIDIA says on the ROI. Maybe we're seeing from some of the stuff. But their 26 orders are sold out. I don't really know what Jensen can even say. But if he says something about softening, obviously saying something's getting stronger. But we'll take a look at that later. Anyway, back to SPY. So, short-term guilty until innocent for me. This has to get to about like 673 here. I know 665 after hours because of NVIDIA. So we close it essentially 663. You're getting maybe $2 back from the NVIDIA uptrade if it holds. I really want to see us hold the 21-day exponential moving average of 673. Once I see that, and that's 1.5% away, so it could happen by tomorrow at lunch. Once that happens, we get a close there successively, then you're going to see people start to get from that line of bearishness and fear and start to get a little bit more towards the greedy side. It'll quickly put a pin in it in terms of bullishness if you have literally say 2-3 successive closes above 673 for SPY. The charts do not look broken. That should take you back to a corresponding 50 RSI. The 200-day will still continue to rise. And again, look at the run. Last thing on this, going into it, we were up from the 7th to the 12th, and now we are down from the 13th through today we were up. So still not down as much as we were up, although we had more in magnitude, if that makes sense, with the drop from 683 all the way down. And we'll see if that hammer holds from yesterday. But as I said, we'll see if the week rally. I still do believe we are going to all-time highs, just a little bit pushed the timeline. I had it for Thanksgiving week, but that's next week. It doesn't look so. We'll see what Jensen can say if they're curing cancer with the chips for nickel, I suppose. But my target still is 695 for SPY, which would be a new all-time high, just likely closer to early to mid-December. All right, let's get into some of the names, and we'll take a look at what some of the strength is. So sometimes it's good to step back. I can't imagine how bearish the world is in the picture of the world when Google is hitting all-time highs. Once we thought this was a lagger, they had no AI story. This name was basically in the penalty box until this breakout in August. So you didn't have to be in Google for 2 years. Some of it was up and down, but really, if you bought this to break it above 205, it got you here to 294. Just want to also point out the gross rejection today of 304 and the RSI not even getting to 67. So something tells me in the Google chart, it's had a stupendous run here. I use Gemini. I like it. I think it's from what the reports I see, it's gaining share. But for me right here, this is the near-term target of Google. So it's done a lot in a little in the past, 5 days. But something tells me in the near term, maybe on some, beta pullback, you get a pullback for this to about 277, and that's going to be your definite invitation to get in. I think it happens on some instance, who knows, but then that will be your invitation to get in, to get back to this target. But for me, fully target at 298, and you're kind of seeing today view up was 295. They closed beneath that as well, so a little bit of over exuberance. Still closed up 3%. It was up much higher, and that is Google. But if you get that shot 278, you take it. All right, let's see what's more action, if anything's actionable here. So XYZ block, a big day, up 8%. Look at this. So Google is an absolute star. Look at this. Not so much in the chart of XYZ or block. I think the guys were halted at midday. This has been oversold for a while. So almost reminds me of the Bitcoin chart, to be honest with you. So these guys reported earnings, and the next day down 8%. And this is when they were in purgatory right here. Still a downward sloping 2-day moving average, though serving as support since mid-July, and now, unfortunately, since early November. Now it looks like it's resistance. So they had a good day today, up 8%, getting out of this oversold territory, but really no remote fervor for the stock since at least the end of October here, when it was trading at 77 handle. Your 2-day moving average is right here at 67.5. I think this has a dead cat bounce, or I think you get a move. A dead cat bounce infers that it's one and done. Still overall bullish in the market, and rising tide lift, all ships. But this has totally been an underperformer, but trying to etch a recovery. It did peak last December. I think you get a move here to about, like it's going to be magnetized to me to get to that 200-day moving average. I think it's going to get to 68 if it, bulls its brains out. Absolute best. I see it getting, it's really heavy resistance, maybe 72. But these prior, support zones here of 72, I don't think that's just going to be quickly overcome. So, yeah, I don't know. You can almost, I know I'm just flying through my pants here. You can almost maybe do the 68-72 call spread, but I got to check the implied vol on this. This name stinks. I haven't been, really following. I have to see the option chain, but that's a consideration. But block looks like it has, from 68 from here, that's another $6 or nearly 10%. Today it did 8. So we'll see. So that's my call on that. But I do think the downside, I don't think, I don't know what you could get paid, but the 57 puts look like a sale. I don't think it's going to generate anything though. All right, and then one more for the mover upside. Again, more mega cap. Broadcom, an absolute star. This peaked 2 days before Halloween at 386, and then it had quite a fall until 330, and now a big day up 4% is Broadcom. You want to see charts like this up and to the right. This name has been beaten up. I love entries on this. This is a great name. Not one close under the 200 moving average going back to April. This looks one of the stronger semi names. I love entries here under 351. I know you had obviously a move above that here. We'll see if the train has left the station. But for me, still over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I do foresee a rally of this basically matching truly its all-time highs. I don't know if it'll get past it, or my target is about 385, 386, and the all-time high is 386.5. So it should be, I think, very close in the next 2 to 3 weeks. A lot of these, because of how weak the market is, will not be straight lines or linear fashion. It's probably going to be choppy. But they were upset. This one, the bell rang. The high was 360. It basically closed very close to that. VWAP 352.5. A lot of bullishness for this, and it's nice you're getting back to those former levels that had been support. So a couple closes above 59. I like the way this is going. This has 385, 390 written on it. In a couple of weeks, you could probably buy the January 400 calls. Check out the delta on that one. All right, let's look at the losers. And oh my, crypto looks like there's no bottom. Looks like we'll never see a green candle again. And voila, the opposite is here, a red candle. MSTR strategy continues to be oversold, where it has been since right there since the 13th. So 6 days now of oversold. That's when it was a 206 handle. Now 189. This truly was a canary in the coal mine. This had been trading like crap for months. Crypto all-time high for Bitcoin was right here. We were 126K. This barely squeaked above 200 moving average, and boom, exit stage left. And honestly, that's the last time there was really enthusiasm for this name. So totally fell on hard times. Size your position for max loss. It's down 10%. Or I'm sorry, this ended up closing 10% today. Did MicroStrategy. They were, the low was 182. They bought it up a little bit. VWAP was 192, so still not that excited. I think you get some kind. This one I'll call a dead cat bounce, because I think this has been a crap proxy for Bitcoin for quite a while. If you want to get long Bitcoin, you don't do this. You still do IBIT, even Coinbase, which is back to IPO levels from 2021, for goodness sakes. But I do not like MicroStrategy. This looks like, I think you get a dead cat bounce to about 240, but it's going to take. You got to get this to at least year end, just because how weak it is. Because you could almost start moving the targets lower and lower, unfortunately. But I don't. This is oversold, so folks are selling and then asking questions later, and you're getting vol expansion here. These uncharted territories becomes more and more known. So do we see 180s and so on and so forth? Don't forget the prior highs back when the U.S. stock market had its 52-week low. This was at 240. So this is truly fell out of bed. It's also one of those things where Bitcoin is at 7-month lows and SPY is less than 4% away from all-time highs. So thankfully, crypto is not in the market, but we've been talking about that is a risk signal. So we are, of course, paying attention to it. I think you get a bounce in this to about 240. It seems like a monster move because it's $50. So it is a monster move. It's probably going to take you through year end, or if not longer. But yeah, continues to go lower. Don't catch a falling knife in this. Wait to buy into strength on strategy. They hammered it today, though. That doesn't look like it's done. Another one they hammered is Target, a multiple standard deviation mover, almost 3%. Walmart reports earnings tomorrow. Target not looking good here. Absolute horrendous. We've been talking about how it's almost like a value trap. They have $105 billion in revenue and a $40 billion market cap. So way, way off. A 5% dividend yield. Looks like private equity, squealing to take this one over. This is an absolutely hideous chart. They peaked back in January, not even close to the 200 moving average, continuing to fall. This looks horrendous. You probably should get a bounce to 91. That's what the chart tells me. It got to 92 today, and then he sold it near the lows. This chart looks horrendous. I don't want to touch it. Short term probably does go to 91, but overall I'm bearish. This looks awful. And then Boston Scientific, they hammered it. And medical devices have been doing, well. This is down 2.25% as Boston Scientific. You see the chart. truly looks like it's rolling over. This is a $145 billion company. Interesting looking chart here. Peaked in September at 109.5. That week, it fell on a 200 moving average, and it really still hasn't put together a week full of successive closes above it. It tried this past week, but it fell out of bed. These past couple of days have been ugly. So, oh man, I'm going to give lousy forecast. This to me looks range bound. I think this is going to be under 105. I think it lives here, and I think it tapped its floor today at about 95. At 200-day moving average is going to continue to go lower here. Probably tag 101. So pretty much range bound and frustration on Boston Scientific on a pretty much otherwise a subsector that is raging on. All right, it's been a messy, choppy tape. Let's take a look at more NVIDIA. Let's get cracked out. Hang on, let me see what's going on here. Okay, no. So yeah, it looks like good comments are holding here. We had a 186 VWAP essentially after that. Right now, stock's trading 194. So good to see. All right, we'll check on that at the very end of the call. No more of that. Top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. Has there been any refuge? The best performing stock, and I paid attention to parameters of at least 10 million shares a day and at least $20 share price. Number 1 gainer is Cisco, up 6.5%, or an average of nearly 1.25% a day. This has done, well, let me zoom out here. Can you see that? Boopity boopity bop. Yes, if you have a ticker or something, put it in and we'll take a look at it. If you like what we're saying, subscribe and all that stuff. So again, look at this chart. They had great earnings here, and it was up 3% going into the tape, and the day after up 4.5%. That's when the highs were hit on November 13th, and now it's had a beautiful couple of days. This, to me, there's sometimes price is correct in time versus price. This to me looks like it has another week of bullishness, but for me, the top side target is right around 78 even. So I don't want to chase it here. I would buy it on pullbacks to about, if you're lucky, 73, 74. We'll see how this tech trade shapes out. NVIDIA really turns things around, but tech and the whole complex of that was on its back all week, except Cisco, the best performing stock, up 6.5% over the past week. Number 2 after that was MP Materials. This one has had quite a fall from its October 14th high of 100. Beautiful looking chart, 200-day moving average, continuing to rise. Beautiful volume breakout day here and a breakout above $40. Stock more than double from here. You saw a test after earnings. They bought up 13%. Great looking chart. It's your second best performing name. Is there upside from here? It's hit a hard place for here. To me, this resistance at $68 is not for the squeamish. I'm curious if it takes it out, and then I almost rather buy it above there. I think it's done a lot and a little, and the market's just still looks pretty heavy here. So I would not chase this higher. To me, fully targeted $74 or $72 best case scenario. So I don't love the risk reward on MP Materials, but right here up 6% over the past 5 days. And of course today a big day. Most of it coming from today, up 8.5% net. Okay, and then let's look at Medtronic. This one, new all-time highs. This one is not trading like Boston Scientific. I remember my high school business teacher talking about buying Medtronic. So I think he may be a multi-billionaire at this point because he loved it from 2000 and whatever. This is a $130 billion company now. New all-time highs here. You can see the rejection as well. They had earnings last night. Yesterday, and the stock went to 102.5, and then they sent it lower. Not too often this goes above the upper Bollinger Band. It did squeak over bought 75 now all the way back to 69. A lot of volume yesterday on that earnings print. Folks loved it. To me, fully targeted for this is right around 99. So I don't want to chase this. I think this actually has a very soft correction to about $95, $96 over the next 2 weeks. I don't really love selling calls when stuff, is hitting all-time highs, but I think this one is going to cool for just a little bit here. But that's MDT, the third best performing stock, up 5% or an average of 1% a day over the past 5 days. Now, the losers were what was dramatic. The winners were all between 4.5% and 6.5%. Lottie frickin' da. The big movers were to the downside, none bigger. And I'm looking at, like I said, the parameters before because you could have lost 60% in some of the crypto nonsense, of course. XPEV, nothing worse than this. Today, an ugly day, down 6.5%. This is the Tesla of China. They're working on bots. They're working on autonomous driving. Truly the Tesla of China, but a obviously different market cap. and their financials are a little funky. But they are a $21 billion company on $10 billion revenue. They make money. It's been an ugly 5 days. They're averaging, almost 4% a day. But take a look at it. They're coming off the highs here on November 11th at $28, all the way down to 21. That's just breathtaking. The 200-day continuing to rise. It is at 20.5. I want this to correct a little bit. I don't want to chase this right here. I think something tells me you're possibly going to have a chance with how the market is. I think you're going to get a chance to see this go either tag the 200-day moving average or actually go right beneath the 200-day moving average, somewhere 1 to 2% beneath. I don't like the RSI is rolling over here. It is where it's bottomed before, but the momentum, it just doesn't look like it's done going to the downside. And something tells me I can get this company cheaper. So 20.5, if you're a little bit more ballsy, you can hold for 20 even, which is 2% lower than that. But I would give this in the penalty box. And again, look at the candles down 6.5%. We'll see if NVIDIA changes the whole world overnight, like they usually do. Yeah, something tells me give this about another week. You get it at 20. And then after that, I think you could buy maybe the Jan or February 24 calls. And if things go right, this one could be a huge money maker. Great looking chart. Otherwise, don't forget, this thing was at $11 to start the year. And it rode it up to $28. I don't think its worst days are behind it. It hasn't even sniffed the 200-day moving average all year. Look at the chart. All year. Nothing. In fact, it has about 1 to 2% breadth every single time. And that would be today. So similar love that Tesla gets. XPEV is getting it there. The worst, but here's the Motel 6, flashing holiday inlights. That name is down 22% in the past 5 days. So it's on sale. Only places the stock market we get stuff on sale and people get pissed off. Everywhere else, people are happy there's a sale. Number 2, and this one I wouldn't chase. The number 2 worst week is MicroStrategy. Don't like that one. It likely is going lower. Just not a fan. We already talked about this one, so not going to take more time. But this one's down 18% over the past 5 days. Just ugly tape for that one. And another one, number 3, has gotten a lot of love recently. Sofi, look at this, from highs of 32.73 just recently, the past 5 days, down 17%. They had a monster bad, ugly candle there on the 13th last week, where it was down 12%. Sofi, of course, beneficiary of being in financials, consumer finance, and tech. It's been a great place, a lot of tailwinds to go by here. $32 billion company. They do make money, $4 billion a year. This looks a little bit messy. I think it's had a messy week. Hopefully that look at that bottom here, right at 25.5. It looks like it's a hold. I still want the dust to settle, but I think you're getting very, very close to a buy in this. I'll know the move higher is on once this has a close above 28.75. I don't want to, the markets are really frail. You don't want to get in early in a lot of issues. But a close above $28, 28.75, I would know this is for real. And if that is the case, then my target would be $33, which would be just above the former high. So still like the name. It got really smacked on that earnings report, but still held in. Like that, it held 25. I think this will be back on its way. I might get the pen out. We'll take a look at this. Possibly, I don't know. Just right now, for now, the Jan 33 calls, but I don't know if that's what I'm going to go with. But definitely worth a consideration if the market does turn around. Sofi, third worst stock this week. So top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you've been short XPEV, short strategy, short Sofi, congratulations. Those are down about 20% a piece. So absolutely just alpha to the downside in that regard. Okay, let's get to the top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks. See if their trends are still alive, and then we'll check in NVIDIA at the end. Number 1 stock of the past year. I'm in the calls, taking a beating on it, but thankfully positioned for max loss is Rigetti. This is up 1,863% over the past year. These crazy names, you got to give a long leash. So a couple things just objectively. The stock was at $1 last Thanksgiving. It peaked at $58. So this was up 5,800% on one point. And then a nasty, just horrendous collapse, and actually truly was overbought. This was standing room only to get in and buy it for 1 month straight. That sent the stock catapulting from 19 to 57. And then from 57, we go to $23. Still similar to XPEV, not one close under the 200-day moving average. This is a quantum computing name that is truly the stock of the year, but the highs are looking more and more in the rearview mirror. I thought this was supposed to start basing, to be frank, about last week, and it's still getting its butt kicked. Relative strength from SPY. Have not seen a lot of strength in it. Today, it was down 1%. We'll see if NVIDIA can say things about, the how circular their nature is and what the benefits for companies like this. I mean, this has Rigetti is a $8 billion company on $7 million revenue, so nothing. I saw the earnings last week. It was a PowerPoint presentation with one slide. So this is purely, future. And again, this has not had any type of exuberance since that little bit. It was for about 4 days here, end of October, early November, where folks got excited. It took the stock from 37 to 44 and then moved right back down. Earnings had nothing to change that. So just what the charts tell me, yes, I see a rebound coming over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And this looks like it wants to get to about $33, which is $7 from here. Does this have the momentum trade alive again and the new all-time highs? I'm not saying that from here, but this is the stock of the year. I don't love that it's also on a 1 year 50% Fibonacci retracement. It's still below the 50% point. 32 quarter is a big level for this. I want to see what happens at 32, 33. I think it gets there over the next 2 to 3 weeks, but this one's taking a long time. Extraordinarily weak. Number 2 stock best performer is QBTS, similar space, quantum, up 14.83%. Almost looks the exact same chart. I didn't put an overlay or anything like that. What I said basically for spaghetti rigetti goes for D-Wave quantum. Basically, I thought this was going to rally, just extremely weak. For this, in terms of the levels, yeah, I think you get a rally over the next 2-3 weeks to about 28.5, and then we'll see what happens there. So you have your levels for both of those names. So that for this is another $4 to the upside. Today, this one was up 2%. So this one's actually been putting in a floor from 5 days ago here when it tapped 21.5, and now it's been shooting higher. We'll see. Great looking chart, no closes on the 280 moving average. And then look at the disparity here. The number 3 best performer, pretty crazy, is OKLO at only 375%. So it's been Rigetti up 1860, and it's lost. You just saw the chart, a bloodbath. And it's still up 1,800%, for goodness sakes. QBTS up 1,483%. And then let's look at OKLO up 375%. Here's OKLO. Again, all pretty much the same chart. You see the same formation. This one really, under 55 RSI since the week of their highs when this thing tagged basically 194. This one looks like similar picture. Yeah, you get a bounce, I think, in the next 2-3 weeks to about 115. Markets overshoot to the downside, overshoot to the upside. 115's, it was a big day today, up 6%. This is your third best stock of the year, but ugly looking pattern here. You saw highs and then lower highs and then lower lows. So doesn't give me warm fuzzies. Hence why a lot of folks are, a little bit nervous. And in terms of stochastic momentum mix, this is as deep a dive it's had relative to itself since that sell-off from February when it went from 55 all the way down to 17. So that was an ugly 2-month sell-off. Sound kind of similar to what we had from 186 and we went all the way to 90. So I do think you get a move, though, to 115 over the next 2-ish weeks. I would love if, the form has actually, the quantum names and the momentum trade was back again. Still a good chance it happens, but it looks very, very weak right now to 150. Okay, last check-in on NVIDIA. Let's go, and then we'll sign off. What are they doing? Okay, there you go. So, yeah, view up at the end of the day was basically 186. Looks like they're saying the right things. The high came right at the beginning at 196. I don't even care what they report in terms of amount. Truly, I just care for the market reaction. And right now, it looks like it was also very weak going into the print. 196 they sent it to, and right now we're trading essentially 193.70. And again, here is the chart from before. So nice. Again, this is 8% of the S&P. All right, we will be back on Friday to close this all out. Let's see. There's a jobs number tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff going on, and Walmart numbers. Peace.